we got to see episode 1. I've been very good. I've not watched any of the rest. Just watched the first one, written my script, done the audio. The breakdown's coming when the episode releases. Very excited to talk about it. When this is out, the embargo will have lifted. Greg, what's your thoughts on it?
Marvel was back, baby. I loved it. I really loved the hell out of it. I rewatched season 1 leading into it, and you put out a tweet that was talking about how it's even better as a binge. And yeah, I watched them like one day at a time, so I didn't watch it like 6 hours straight or something. I did watch it one day at a time, and I think it actually was a better experience that way. And I had forgotten just how freaking amazing Loki actually is. Like that's such a fantastic show, and it still holds up so well, and it's directed really well. And one of my little concerns was the fact that Kate Herron wasn't returning to direct, when I thought it was one of the rare cases in Marvel where I could feel a director's unique vision around it regarding, the camera movement, aesthetics, symmetry, all that good stuff that a director has to come in and formulate. And they brought in the directors, the people who worked on Moon Knight. And while I liked Moon Knight overall, I still felt like maybe doing that was because they might be able to control them or something to that regard. And I gotta say, following in the shoes of Loki season 1 and Loki season 2 with these new directors, it was very, very, like, from the very beginning. It's a very impressively shot series. A lot of times you talk about with the MCU of rare is the day where you feel like there is something truly special in the way the visuals are done or the cinematography, the camera work. And that was the first thing that really stood out to me, because it's darker, but mood wise, tonal wise, I kind of got the vibe of, I kept likening it to like even the way a lot of these long shots were done, of like a 70s sci-fi horror in a lot of ways. And I was very, very much impressed by the way it was shot. At times it looked like it was even captured on film, which there's no way, I doubt it was. But it doesn't feel like they shot it on a volume. It's not just impressive because of like cool green screen or visual effects. It's all the in-camera work that really generated a very specific tone that I was just so gravitated towards. And it is visually beautiful, but it's intense, great ticking time clock. Just that first episode alone, once I realized, I was like, oh crap, there's only 10 more minutes left in the episode. I just didn't want it to end. And I really think people are going to be very happy with this. It is really,
Definitely.
really good, and it's menacing. It is what, it's one thing I was mentioning to you when I was rewatching it, was how it brought me back to when Loki season 1 ended and they had He Who Remains and the setup for the multiverse. And it was such an ominous threat, and it got us all jacked for what the possibilities were and what the threat level was of what's to come after Loki season 1. And nothing really lived up to what they set up. Even the stuff I really loved, the properties I loved, in terms of tying it back to what was set up at the end of Loki season 1, nothing really delivered. And especially Ant-Man Quantumania did not deliver. And then in the first 10 minutes of this, I wish this came earlier, because this is what I wanted after the events of season 1. This was the vibe I've been craving, and I'm salivating at it, man. I am satiating for more Loki right now. I thought it was fantastic.
Totally agree. Completely agree. Yeah, I was blown away by it. I did go back and rewatch Loki, and I just, going from that finale into this, we're not going to do spoilers, by the way, guys. I know it's heavy spoilers. We might talk about some stuff that's been, talked about at like Comic-Con or D23 or at events when they've shown it. But beyond that, we're not spoiling any plot points. But it has been said publicly that the show picks up immediately after the events of season 1. and it just literally throws you into it. It's such a good moment. The way they open up, it's got real focus on that Kang statue, and then it just all kind of hits the ground running. And I was really blown away by it. I think it goes just beyond just being a sort of. I'm not waving at my camera. I'm trying to get it to focus. I was blown away by how the camera moves on it throughout. It's difficult when you're reviewing something to talk about how good everything is kind of framed, and the way the cinematography hits and stuff, because it's not something, when you come into a review, it's normally talking about the performances and um part of the story and where it goes. But in terms of just the way the show looks and the way it moves, there's lots of things that are shot in one take. It's almost like a stage play at part where there's
Mhm.
actors coming in and interacting with it, and it's very quippy. It's not the goofy, stupid MCU humor. It's all written as part of the characters and how they feel naturally. It just works so well. Like I said, I've only seen the first episode. I don't know how much you've watched. But it's yes, but it definitely feels like a step up, and it's elevated. And I was talking to you guys about it yesterday, saying that I kind of wish they just ended Loki season one and then not really released anything and then dropped this. And I think that there's obviously every week we talk about superhero fatigue, and it's such an over talked about thing, and it's because of how many mid movies we're getting, and all the projects that kind of almost hit the mark, but kind of more tire the audience out because they know what to expect by now. This just completely blew me away. Really, really well acted. It's non-stop. There's lots of really good twists and turns in it, and for the fact that we almost kind of know where the MCU is going as well, there's still so much mystery to this. Like there's a scene involving a lift and a character that they have in it, and not a
Mhm.
twist, but something happens, and even just little bits like that, you can kind of figure out what's going on, but you're sort of piecing things together. And the way that they do time travel as well, just in this episode alone, it is really, really well done, because you've got characters meeting certain characters in the past that then affects conversations they have in the future, and then they go back to the past and have them, and you see like a conversation playing out across two different time periods. Just really well written. I was really well written, really well directed. The MCU is back. We're back to shilling. I was
We're
completely
back to
blown away
shilling.
by it. Yeah, and if the series can keep up this level, I think it's going to be by far the best Disney Plus show, because that Loki, that first one was what people always say. It's like, oh, it's the best Disney Plus show. This is like above that from what it feels like, from the tones that you get. And
Yeah.
I think you guys, when you sit down and watch it, like I said, it's difficult to visualize when you're talking about camera movements and stuff, but you'll sit down and watch it, and just the way that you
You'll know.
follow through the
The
scenes, and
first few
yeah,
minutes, you'll know. Yeah. The first few minutes, you'll be like, "Oh, wow, I feel it."
yeah, going back to that first season, you do kind of realize how static everything was. But it's just got such a great flow to it, very dynamic. You can really tell they took their time in rehearsal and mapped everything out. And I don't know if this is a spoiler, but it takes place in the TVA. And what could happen is that you basically have very boring looking office rooms, corridors, and stuff, all in one location, where people are just having conversations and stuff. And that could be, even me describing it there, it sounds boring, but they managed to really ignite the scenes and have them just constantly popping off because of the way characters move and their actions and expressions and the conversations they. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed it. I can't praise it high
Mhm.
enough of that first episode. Episode two, gonna be one of those filler episodes, and be like, "Oh, you shill, you were wrong. You said it was good." But yeah, brilliant first episode.
Yeah. I get what you're saying about the sets. They feel very tangible. Like, they're lively, but everything feels very tangible. Again, it doesn't it's especially with Disney Plus shows. A lot of times with, like, the sci-fi ones, it can just feel like you're on some big green screen set, and I rarely get even the times where it has to be a green screen set. Like, there's just no other question about it. It has to be a big volume or a green screen. It still feels tangible, and it doesn't feel like the actors are locked off to a small little location. Like, the scope of it is very impressive, and it's crazy because as we're talking about it without giving any details at all, it's sounding like, oh, did they do a lot in this episode? Yeah, they actually do a lot. Now that I think about it, there's so much that happens in the 40 minutes. Um, Yet it doesn't feel over convoluted. It breathes really well, and it forces you to pay attention in a way that's gripping, not just like pay attention because you got to keep up with how this is all going. It is truly gripping stuff, and everything that worked, like Loki and Mobius, everything that worked in the first season that people loved, it just feels magnified here in a way that feels like a natural transgression and upgrade from the last one. There are elements to it that I liken to, like Doug Liman did Born Identity, and then Paul Greengrass did the next Born movies after that, and it's not exactly that, but in terms of like more refined, darker tone, feeling more realistic yet bigger and heavier. That's kind of where I would liken that direction. Without it being, because it's even more handheld too than the first season, but it's still smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really loved it, man. I can't.
And
I cannot wait to watch the second episode. I'm very
yeah.
very jazzed about what they're doing right now.
Yeah, and it's quite a small cast as well when you think about the amount of people that are in the episode. And like I said, I kind of do liken it to a stage play where it's very, performance and character driven. And yeah, it's not much of a big cast, but just the way they sell the lines and the emotion of it. Kehu Kwan as well. He makes his debut in this episode. Great character, very funny.
Brilliant.
Comedic timing is just spot on. Just kind of seems like a lost little lamb, but who's kind of being like, "Oh yeah." So they do some really fun stuff with him. Yeah, and I mean, obviously he's won his Oscar and he's done lots of multiverse things and whatever. But yeah, he came in just stole the show a bit, and great new addition to the cast as well.
Yeah, he's got that sincere, engaged, aloof yet committed energy. He's the perfect actor to step into this world, and coming from Everything Ever All at Once, which is a big multiverse movie, and here it's not the same performance; it's a different character, but the things you love about what he brings to a role are ever present here. I think he's so perfect. He's perfect. But it's a good month for superhero stuff, man, because we got Gen V as well,
Mm,
which is also fantastic. That's how you transition, Paul. That's how you
that
transition.
was
I did
perfect.
it. It's perfect.
Yeah, that's what I should have done.